People who have survived school shootings, what was it like? Serious. Gorcho here. I graduated from UCSB in 2016 and was a sophomore in 2014 when the shooting happened on May 23, 2014. That year, I finally moved from the dorms to an apartment complex right outside campus in Isla Vista. I lived above the 7-Eleven where the shooter drove by in his vehicle and starting shooting. On that day though, I was at my friend's apartment in Goleta, Abrego Road, for a small study session. I was on my way out and got ready to bike home when I heard gunshots from the street over. I immediately ran back inside, told everyone to be quiet, and closed the blinds. We waited out the whole night, listening to the UCSB radio, messaging family, and checking up with classmates/friends. It was a rough night trying to piece together what was happening, and only until after hours of waiting did we get the whole story. We were shocked. I still think about it from time to time, and I'm thankful I wasn't in my apartment or biking to my apartment when he was driving right by my apartment building. Edit. Removed the shooter's name out of respect for the victims. Don't mention the shooter's name. It gives them notoriety, which is what they want. It wasn't me, but a very close friend of mine was there during the Santa Fe shootings in Texas a while back, and she hasn't been the same since. I think 10 people were killed that day, and nowadays anytime she hears anything that remotely resembles a gunshot she nearly has a panic attack. I feel really horrible for her because she used to be a really fun outgoing person and nowadays she really only keeps to herself. While I wasn't in an active shooter scenario, my neighbor was killed while I was home a year and a half ago. Apartment complex, 17 gunshots fired, 2 bullets went through my living room. I wasn't able to play games like PUBG or really anything that had gunshots in it for a good couple months. I still get a little jumpy from loud bangs and loud deep male voices. I'm male myself, but I've learned to deal with it. I really recommend she tries to talk to someone if she hasn't already. Exposure therapy could also be an option. Going to a shooting range myself and owning those noises as my own again really helped. My thoughts are with your friend, and I hope she can get the help she needs so her quality of life can get back to normal. I was in 7th grade when one took place at my middle school. It was a snowy day, so my bus showed up late to school. The shooter was on my bus with me. Sometimes the timing of things is so incredible. Of course, when we went inside, everyone was already in class. My locker was upstairs. I distinctly remember hearing very loud noises coming from downstairs. I had never heard a gun being shot in real life, and I remember thinking, wow, fireworks inside? At that point a teacher stuck his head out of a doorway and told me to run. Looking back at that, I wonder what he was thinking by not pulling me into that room. I ran across the balcony, too terrified to look down. He easily could have pointed up. It was just me up there. I breathlessly ran into my life sciences class and didn't know what to say. The teacher, a very stoic woman with very little care about how anyone felt around her, told me to sit down. I quietly said, I think something is going on. The students in class had no idea yet. Soon we all began to understand. That teacher, I kid you not, turned the TV on so we could watch the news. Cameras were outside our school filming, waiting for us to be evacuated, and she made us do classwork that she later graded while we sat under our tables. I definitely received an F on that paper. It counted toward my grade. We eventually left down a back staircase into a boatload of cops who wouldn't let our parents in. Then enters the hero of this story, my father. He busted through those cops, told them he was getting his daughter, no matter what they said, grabbed me up, and pulled me away from everyone. I don't remember much about the rest of that day. I think I watched a movie about soccer at home on the couch. Such a blur. I was unable to hear loud noises without jumping for weeks afterward. Kid was placed on house arrest. No idea where he is now. Assigning class walk during a school shooting? What asshole does that? Maybe a teacher desperately trying for normality the only way she knew. Maybe teacher was trying to keep them occupied, but who can focus at that point? I was never directly in the line of fire, and I will not name my school. I remember hearing the announcement to secure the building and thinking, shouldn't they say it's a drill? We all lazily filed into the designated area. Our teacher was acting pretty casual. We all assumed it was a drill. About 30 seconds after we were all in the back we heard gunshots, pretty loud and pretty close. They were in the classroom directly behind us in the school layout. We got silent pretty quickly, a few of us were crying. The gunshots lasted maybe 10 more minutes, bursts of about a minute apart. After about half an hour we heard a knock at the door and a police officer identifying himself. We were led out of the class and through the halls in a line with our hands on the shoulders of the person in front of us. There was a lot of officers with guns around us the entire time. After we got outside we sort of filed into groups. We talked to each other, hugged, cried. When we returned to school almost a week later, everyone acted differently. The class clowns were sobered. Some of us had breakdowns. One of my close friends lost their life in the shooting, and so did 3 others. No one quite knew what to do. Even today we all act differently than we did before. My freshman year of high school 2013. On our first Thursday back after winter break a student showed up to school late with a shotgun. He walked into his first period class and targeted students who had bullied him. The entire campus was on lockdown for what felt like hours. One thing that has stuck with me was my first period English teacher grabbing a pair of scissors and telling us that he was prepared to do what he had to do to keep us safe. This man was married with kids, but was letting us know in what was probably the scariest experience of his life that he would make the ultimate sacrifice if it meant keeping us safe. Thankfully it never came to that, but it's still hard to imagine what it must have felt like to decide then and there that his students were worth dying for. Your old English teacher is someone who deserves everything great in the world. Some people are ready to protect those under their watch always. That man is a hero. I go to Saugus High School and was at school during the most recent school shooting that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'll start from the beginning. I got to school at probably around 7:10 because I'm Mormon, so I had a class called seminary, basically Bible study, and so we ended, and I walked to school. I walked in and went towards the back of campus-ish, but I could still see where it took place in the quad. I'm just chilling there with my friends when I look over and see some kid walking really quickly towards the middle of the quad. And it happened so quickly he was crying I think. He ripped his backpack around, and I just knew there something was wrong. He reached in and shot the girl in front of him. I won't say her name, but I knew her quite well, and she was instantly dead. I'm pretty sure at that point I don't remember much. I just ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran, until I collapsed on the sidewalk outside of school and some parent came and helped me up. Scariest moment of my life. I knew the kid that was the shooter. I knew the girl that died. I knew one of the injured. I'm still dealing with it today, and it has honestly made me so scared. A chair fell, and I just sat in my room for a couple hours. I hope no one ever has to deal with anything like that ever. Man, I was wondering if I would see someone talk about this. I went to Valencia High right down the street. Graduated in 2015. My dad was one of the cops that responded to the shooting. He called me as soon as he heard it go out over the radio. I just said I love him and couldn't believe something like that was actually going down so close to home. Glad you're okay. Really, the whole situation is just crazy and sad. It definitely was a crazy situation. If your dad was one of the ones that was going like 115 down Newhall to come help us, or whoever he was, we all appreciate him so much, and he and his colleagues have really helped us these last couple weeks more than they can imagine. So I wasn't actually in the school when it happened, but the anniversary of the Sandy Hook shooting is in 4 days and I feel the need to tell my version of its story. Sandy Hook was only a few minutes away from the elementary school I was going to at the time. My school was so close that we were under total lockdown just in case. Being a kid I had no idea what was going on or what being on lockdown meant. I was just stoked over the fact we weren't doing anything in class and got to chill. I had no idea that only a few minutes away a friend of mine, Anna Marquez Green, an innocent little first grade girl along with 19 of her peers, were being brutally slaughtered. I got home and my mom was watching the news and sobbing. She immediately shut it off and ran over to me and my brother and clung to us as tightly as possible. I remember being so confused up until the next day. Our teacher explained to us what had happened the night before. I was dumbfounded. There were so many questions going through my mind. What do you mean they passed away? How could a human being take another innocent person's life? But worst of all, the guilt. I was and still am so guilty. So guilty that I was happy to be on lockdown while my friend was getting killed. Guilty that I got to go home to my mom and family and they didn't. Guilty that my mom got to hug her children and hear our voices and Thiz didn't. It's something that stuck with me for the rest of my life. I still cry every time I think about it, and I'm still horribly terrified at the thought of school shootings. I bring a knife and pepper spray to school with me every single day, and every single year on December 14th me and my mom light candles for every single victim and pray for them. TL. Doctor, my friend was killed in the Sandy Hook shooting a few minutes away from me, and it's something that never ever left me or the people around me. Not sure if this counts, but I had a friend who was very mentally unstable at school and he hated everyone including me at times, and I remember he told me his plan and who he wanted to shoot. So the next day I met him outside the hall and said I came to see if he was going to, and he started sweating and I told him it's not worth it, and he lashed out and threatened to shoot me. So I said, if you are going to make it quick. He reached into his coat, then panicked, turned around and started crying and went home. It will be burnt into my memory I don't think I stopped it or that it would have happened, but my heart stopped for the next 2 days and I felt like I should be dead. Later that year he fell madly in love with me and even broke into my house a few times. This was 2015 to 2016. Fucking yikes, dude.